Hi members and friends of Voices of Bradfield. I wanted to share some of my insights from COP26 as it comes to a close, and as many of you know, I recently located here rather unexpectedly, which has given me the opportunity to get a close-up view of the action here and the ability to reflect on how Australia looks as a country from afar. So let me share a couple of clips and interviews that I've filmed for you and then give you some of my thoughts. Enjoy.
This is, as you can see, world leaders who are dining out and not addressing the emergency with the scale and scope required. And the concept here is that they are not picking up the bill for, I guess, the extravagance and the way we're living currently. And this is a clever pun, a clever segue to talk about what we do, which is the work on the Climate and Ecological Emergency Bill. So that is a bill that's in Parliament, in the UK Parliament at the moment. It was introduced by Caroline Lucas, who's the Green MP in the UK. And we currently have actually 118 MPs supporting us. So we're growing all the time, and we have an alliance of organisations and businesses, including Lush, who organised all of this today. These amazing costumes and props and things.
I'm Hilary. I'm the Ethics Director at Lush Cosmetics, and we're working, the thing that we've been doing today is we're working with 0 Hour, which is an NGO in the UK that's set up to try and get we've got a bill that's trying to work its way through Parliament, a private member's bill called the Climate and Ecology Emergency Bill, which just sets out some really basic first steps to deal with the climate transition that we need to make. So obviously it's a case of trying to get that cross-party support. So 0 Hour have set up to kind of try and push that through the Parliament. And at Lush we always partner with NGOs, and it was COP. We needed to advertise that. 0 Hour were looking for ideas to advertise it, so we partnered with them to do this World Leaders Banquet, where it's this eat more than you can buffet. We've basically, all of us, feasted off this planet for decades, and the time is now for the reckoning. The time is now to pick up the bill, and the time is now to pay back the devastation that we've caused. So that's what we've been trying to highlight today.
So here in the UK, Caroline Lucas, the only member of the Greens party in the House of Reps, has put forward a private member's bill called the Climate and Ecological Emergency Bill. MPs from the major parties are having to be talked into supporting it by an NGO, 0 Hour, and by anyone else who understands that every nation needs to take strong bipartisan action on climate now. Does this situation sound familiar? It's a parallel story in Australia. We're relying on the success of a private member's bill put forward by the independent MP Zali Steggall to get the party Australians elected into power to act with urgency. But in July this year, the Liberal members of the Energy and Environment Committee, including self-described moderates, recommended that Zali's bill not even be debated. Without government support, the bill will never be presented to Parliament for a vote. So if you're in an electorate held by the LNP, even if your federal member talks the talk, listens to your climate concerns, writes notes in their book when you speak to them at your local shops, you need to know that they've voted against this climate bill. They're required to vote along party lines, required to vote as a bloc. So it's the same in both parties, unless they're allowed a conscience vote, which is rare. In Australia then, there's no point whatsoever going to each individual MP, as they're doing in the UK, to try to convince them to get on board. Both Caroline and Zali are having to work against the resistance of the major parties to get their respective bills through Parliament so that strong, future-focused legislation on climate can be enacted. And so private markets can have the certainty they need to pour capital into the newly emerging post-carbon economy. We are 10 years longer really behind the game in Australia, We've wasted so much time and squandered countless opportunities that have gone offshore when we could have kick-started the entire renewables sector decades ago. Don't start me on incentives for electric vehicles, nor the makeup of the National COVID Coordination Commission, which was a hand-picked panel of business leaders predominantly from the mining and gas sectors. Here in Scotland, there are all manner of incentives for EVs, and the post-COVID economic recovery certainly wasn't handed to the mining industry. Which brings me back to Glasgow and our embarrassing showing there. Not only did the official Australian stand in the Blue Zone have the best coffee in the whole joint, a tad ironic given comments made about the inner city coffee drinkers' role in addressing the climate crisis, but I'm sure you've heard that signage at the stand, at the very front of the Australian pavilion, was proudly placed there by one of the country's largest fossil fuel mining companies. At a global gathering on how to reduce the planet's carbon footprint, we think it's a smart idea to let Santos, promoting carbon capture and storage technology, have the space. It beggars belief. So while everything that's been going on here at Glasgow might be well and good, a lot of networking, influencing, educating, negotiating, alongside the denial and continued obfuscation, COP26 hasn't changed much for Australia. The government has not budged in the slightest. We're still global pariahs and have been ranked last of 60 countries for our policy response to the climate crisis. It's been a joke and an embarrassment being here in Glasgow, and now there are reports as the conference concludes that Australia's trying to water down what little we'd agreed to in Glasgow. It can be really depressing to think about what's facing us and the appalling lack of government action. So putting all the theatrics and rhetoric of Glasgow behind us, what is the answer? What is the fastest way to get action on climate in the next 6 months or sooner? It's not to keep trying to get the attention of your federal MP. Many of us, straight up working parents from the burbs of Australia, have wasted so much time down that route. The fastest and only viable solution is to get more community-based independents into the House of Reps, so independents hold the balance of power and they can negotiate with both major parties to get Zali's climate bill passed. Which means the singular most powerful thing you can do is still available to you, despite what happened at Glasgow. It's how you vote at the upcoming election. Now, a lot of my friends have said, my vote can't make a difference. I live in an electorate where the incumbent gets 60% of first preferences. Well, my response is, the incumbent may be a little surprised this time round because they have not been listening. We cannot let our votes be taken for granted. We have seen the consequences. We're not asking you to vote for the other party, whom you may not trust or believe in. We know the party system is broken. Voices of Bradfield are offering an alternative. As a community-based organisation run by mums and dads and grandparents, we've been working super hard to put an independent candidate forward so you don't have to vote the same way you've always voted and get the same obfuscation and lack of leadership on climate. And so you can hand on heart say to your children and grandchildren, at this pivotal point in human history, I voted for strong climate action. Thank you so much for all your support. Please check out the details below this video and join us. The website is just below as well. Thanks again on behalf of all the team.